Good morning, students. Welcome back to the class Sustainable Management of Natural Resources. In the last class, we have discussed about the dams and even the people who are affected. Today, we are going to learn mainly about the water harvesting and their consequences. Watershed management emphasizes scientific soil and water conservation in order to increase the biomass production. The aim is to develop primary resources of land and water to produce secondary resource of plants and animals for use in a manner which will not cause ecological imbalance. Watershed management not only increases the production and income of the watershed community but also mitigates droughts and floods and increases the life of the downstream dams and reservoirs. Various organizations have been working on regenerating ancient system of water harvesting as an alternative to the mega projects like dams. These communities have used hundreds of indigenous water saving methods to capture every trickle of water that had fallen on their land, dug small pits and lakes, put in place simple watershed systems, built small earthen dams, constructed dikes, sand and limestone reservoirs, set up rooftop water collecting units. This has recharged underground water levels and even brought river back to the life. A traditional technology is helping India's watermen save thousands of past villages and transform the lives of thousands of villages in one of the India's most and regions. The two decades of efforts of Dr. Rajendra Singh, 8,600 johats and other structures to collect water have been built in Rajasthan, and water have been brought back to 1,000 villages across the state. In 2015, he won the Stockholm Water Prize. It is the most prestigious award which honors a person who contributes to the conservation and protection of water resources for the well being of the planet and its inhabitants. Water harvesting is an age old concept in India. Khadans, tanks, and nadas in Rajasthan, bandaras and tals in Maharashtra, bundis in Madhya Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh, ahas and pines in Bihar, kuls in Himachal Pradesh, ponds in Kandi belt of Jammu and region, and eris in Tamil Nadu, Suragams in Kerala and Kattas in Karnataka are some of the ancient water harvesting, including water conveyance structures still in use today. Water harvesting techniques are highly local, specific, and benefits are also localized. Giving people control over their local water resources ensure that mismanagement and over exploitation of these resources is reduced or they are removed. These are the pictures indicating that is the collection of a water in a different forms. In largely level terrain, the water harvesting structures are mainly crescent shaped. You can see the structure here. They are crescent shaped and you can see the Khadin bond that is and the shallow dug well they have given. So these are the areas where they are going to trap the water so that the water will be retained in that areas. In large level terrain, the water harvesting structures are mainly crescent shaped earthen embankments or low straight concrete and rubble check dams built across seasonally flooded gullies. Monsoon rains fill ponds behind the structures. Only the largest structures hold water year around. Most dry up 6 months or less after the monsoons. Their main purpose, however, is not to hold surface water but to recharge the groundwater beneath. The advantages of water stored in the ground are many. It does not evaporate but spread out to recharge wells and provide moisture for vegetation over a wide area. In addition, it does not provide breeding grounds for mosquitoes like stagnant water collected in ponds or artificial lakes. As we all know, thereby what happens if a water has been started for the stagnant, there will be a multiplication of the number of worms like mosquitoes, or even it can be a houseflies. But these number of techniques, what happen, it will not provide a breeding grounds for the number of mosquitoes, and it will not spread any of our diseases. The groundwater is also relatively protected from contamination by human and even animal waste. The next topic we have to move on is nothing but coal and petroleum. We have seen some of the issues involved in the conservation and sustainable use of resources like forest, wildlife, and even water. As we all know, the coal and petroleum is a non-renewable resources. It cannot be replenished if they have depleted. These can meet our needs perpetually if we were to use them in a sustainable manner. Now, we come to yet another important resource, that is fossil fuels, that is coal and petroleum, which are very important sources of energy for us. Whatever may be the main source of energy is the sun, we may not get the maximum amount of energy. So through water or through any other forms, the energy which we are getting only in a less quantity. But the products like coal and petroleum, that is fossil fuels, the maximum amount of energy we are going to utilize. Since the Industrial Revolution, we have been using increasing amounts of energy to meet our basic needs and for the manufacture of a large number of goods upon which our lives depend. These energy needs have been largely met by the reserves of coal and petroleum. The management of these energy resources involves slightly different perspectives from those resources discussed earlier. Coal and petroleum were formed from the degradation of biomass millions of years ago, and hence these are resources that will be exhausted in the future no matter how carefully we use them. We all know that these are nothing but a non-renewable resources. These are the fossil fuels are formed over billion of years ago. So maximum number of people are utilizing this, isn't it? So whatever may be the way we are using, at the end what happens, we may be having no number, or the number of these fuels will be reduced. So what we must do, we must reduce the amount of using. But as we all know, if we utilize a less also, since our population is keep on increasing, the usage of these products also what happen will be increasing if we are utilizing in a regular manner also. And then we need to look for alternative sources of energy, isn't it? Alternative sources of energy is nothing but the water energy, or even solar energy, or a wind energy, or a wave energy. All these are nothing but that is naturally available, and they are not a non-renewable. These are all renewable resources and can be used throughout the any form of life. Various estimates exist as to how long these resources will last if the present rate of usages continues. It is estimated that our known petroleum resources will last us for about 40 years, and coal resources will last for another 200 years. But looking at other sources of energy is not only the consideration when we look at the consumption of coal and petroleum. Since coal and petroleum have been formed from biomass in addition to carbon, these contain hydrogen, nitrogen, and sulfur. When these substances are burnt, the products are carbon dioxide, water, oxides of nitrogen, and oxides of sulfur. As we all know, these are the substances, they are going to cause which one? They mixes with the water through the rain, and they causes acid rain, forming a number of disorders for human beings. Apart from that, all the living organisms will be affected by the acid rain, and even the other things like marble stones will be getting degraded by its structure. When combustion takes place in insufficient air, then carbon monoxide is formed instead of carbon dioxide. So we all know combustion, we are having two types of combustion. One is complete combustion and incomplete combustion. In complete combustion, as we all know, oxygen is used at its maximum rate and only carbon dioxide which is produced. But whereas here they are saying in the incomplete combustion, yeah, in the presence of a insufficient amount of oxygen, thereby instead of giving a carbon dioxide, there will be a release of carbon monoxide. As more number of carbon monoxide has been released, there will be a number of changes which are taking place in the health of a living organism, that is the environment. What happened, the environment will starts to heat up, and even the increase in amount of consumption of carbon dioxide will be reduces and carbon monoxide amount increases. There will be oxygen supply, what happen, will be getting affected. Of these products, the oxides of nitrogen and sulfur and carbon dioxide are poisonous at a higher concentration, and carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas. As we all know, carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas. Thereby what happen, it traps the carbon particles, or a carbon monoxide or a carbon dioxide particles traps the heat which is produced by the sun. So thereby what happens, as the heat has been trapped, thereby the sun, what happen, the sun releases in energy, it will be trapped by carbon dioxide or the carbon particles, and then these heat will not be returned to the environment, but it will be retained in the earth, where we are having maximum number of carbon dioxide particles. Thus so the temperature of the earth will be increases due to the deposition of these carbon particles, as they will be trapping the heat. Another way of looking at coal and petroleum is that they are huge reservoirs of carbon, and if all of this carbon is converted to carbon dioxide, then the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is going to increase, leading to the intense global warming. As I told, thereby what happened, the carbon and carbon particles are nothing but the greenhouse gases, that is carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide. These will trap. Here students, you can see the picture here, that is solar energy and infrared rate, most of the heat contained in the atmosphere. Thereby what happened, the carbon particles which are present here, they are going to trap the heat. If there is no carbon particles, some heat escapes to the space, but if more number of carbon particles are present in these areas, means they will trap this heat from the sun, and they will not emit once again back to the environment. Thus so what happen, they will maintain the heat, and these heat, what happen, will be transferred to the earth, so that what happen, global warming will be taking place. Hereby you can see the annual world greenhouse gas emission in 2000 year, that is they have showed in the transportation, electricity, like this in the chart wise. What happened, they have given the amount which has been released. How to make a difference in energy consumption then? Some simple choices can make a difference in our energy consumption patterns. Think over the relative advantages, disadvantages, and environment friendliness of the following. Take a bus using your personal vehicle or walking, cycling. Using LED bulbs or fluorescent bulbs in our homes. Using the lift or taking the stairs. Wearing an extra sweater or using a heating device on cold days. The management of coal and petroleum also addresses the fuel efficiency of our machines. A fuel is most commonly used in internal combustion engines for transportation, and research in this field of concentrates on ensuring complete combustion in these engines in order to increase the efficiency and also reduce the air pollution. Thus so we must see the products, if we are going to utilize, how it is going to act on our environment, and even we must see the energy conservation for our nature, and even we must conserve the energy for our future also. An overview of natural resource management. Sustainable management of natural resources is a difficult task. In addressing this issue, we need to keep an open mind with regard to the interests of various stakeholders. We need to accept that people will act with their own best interest at the priority. But the realization that such selfish goals will lead to misery for a large number of people and a total destruction of our environment is slowly growing. Going beyond laws, rules, and regulation, we need to tailor our requirements individually and collectively so that the benefits of development reach everyone now and for all generations to come. Students, at the last, in this chapter, we have learnt about our resources like forest, wildlife, water, coal, and petroleum need to be used in a sustainable manner. And even we have seen that as maximum use of reuse, refuse, reduce, repurpose, and recycle in our lives. Management of forest resources, how it allows us to have, that is for the various stakeholders. The harnessing of water resources by building dams has social, economic, and environmental implications also we have seen. And even we have seen that is how it has been helped the number of people who are living in the local areas. The fossil fuels, coal and petroleum will ultimately be exhausted also we have seen. Because of these and because of their combustion, what happened, our environment has been polluted. And we must see that as the resources which we are using, use these resources judiciously. Otherwise what happened, we the people has to suffer, or the coming generation people, what happened in the future, people will be suffering because of no amount of natural resources. Thank you.